Even after the first part, there are still many characters that are underused in the MLP universe, but this time I won't talk about them alone. I have support from a bunch of other amazing MLP creators, but I'm gonna be the one who starts anyway. And I want to talk about Shirley. She has a fair share of episodes, but there are some things that the comics show that I would have loved to see in the show. Did you know that she has a sister? And that sister is a wrestler. I feel like we should have seen more of Shirley as a teacher and about her relationship with her sister outside of the comics. She was the best teacher we had compared to Twilight and Celestia, but we never got much about her experience as a teacher or her personal life in the show. We have a few hints though. After the situation of Hudson Hoofsay, we see her with Big Mac a few times, but outside of that, her personal life is mostly unknown. She deserves all the love in the world and is a teacher I would model myself after. I just would have liked it a little bit more fleshed out in the show.
You know, I'm the one normally doing the kidnapping here. It's a nice change of pace. Anyways, there are a variety of characters that do not get their deserved time in the spotlight. Grogar and the Kirin come to mind as just a few examples. However, the one that truly interests me as an alicorn is the Pony of Shadows. We see the Pony of Shadows hinted at several times during the show's early episodes, but the reveal of him in his full glory in Shadowplay was actually quite interesting. There, we get not only the implication that the Pony of Shadows was separate from Stygian, we also get the heavy implication of ancient alicorns. Then it is promptly flushed down the proverbial toilet to limbo and nobody ever acknowledges it again. I mean, we had a literal stone relief depicting the Pony of Shadows. Though we do see what might have happened if he had won in the comics, we all know how controversial the canon can be for those. A better utilization of at least the Well of Shades would have been to show Twilight freaking out and have her spend an episode or two studying the ruins. We could have had a lesser offshoot of the Pony of Shadows try to wreak havoc and reveal more on the origins of the character and alicorns as a whole. But no, we had to go with Equestria's favorite tactic of sticking it in a deep dark hole and forgetting about it until it's trying to bring about the apocalypse again. To tie it into G5, you could have someone try to open a portal to Limbo looking for something else and release a real villain into G5. Although, hearing their track record so far, that might just spell the end of the cast and modern Equestria, since they really don't seem equipped to handle the whole actually evil villain thing. I guess for the time being, we will have to be satisfied with Shadowplay and the Nightmare Knight storyline. At least he got a full appearance instead of just being Discord and Disguise.
Zephyr Breeze. So this dude's a total loser, right? Like, no question.
Just like me, for real.
An absolute dingus, a massive tool, maximum cringe, peak douchebag. Where was I going with this? But that's the thing. You need to start from a low point to grow as a character. I mean, yeah, he's absolutely insufferable and keeps flirting with Color Spectrum Horse, but the dude shoots his shot. I can kind of respect it. Totally misses the goal, but you know what that famous buckball player said. I think we all see a bit of ourselves in him. I mean, who doesn't have a crippling fear of failure at certain points? It makes us stay in our comfort zones and never try new things. It happens to every single one of us, whether we admit it or not. The problem is he remained insufferable. It could have been grand if we could see him mature more, drive home the point of relatability, like we all can grow, we can all become better, even the worst of us can achieve greatness if we put our minds to it. But as an audience, we didn't really get to see that. He's just been the butt of an admittedly pretty hilarious joke, but Dude Bro could have been so much more. All that to say, that does not excuse the fact that you really do need to take a hint and learn when no means no, you fucking shit.
Hey, my name is Pearmare, and I've joined this Brony Cinematic Universe video here to make a case for why the Student 6 have been super underutilized. It's crazy to me how they're used so little, despite an entire school concept and seasons of the show being made around the concept of them being a thing. Because the only toy that I remember seeing about the Student 6 is like a Silverstream Fluttershy toy that I can't even find anywhere to buy anymore. Got Sandbar, he's the chill one. I wish we knew more about his backstory, but they didn't really go into that much. Yona's the best at friendship, like literally. I feel like she has the best like understanding of friendship, and she's always been like the smart one when it comes to things like this. And Smolder here, I wish they got into more of her like understanding and adaptation to pony culture and stuff, because something is just fun of trying to see her be a pony. And here's Gallus. I really wanted to see what led Gallus into wanting to become part of the Royal Guard. I wanted to see if he helped Gabby and Gilda spread friendship through Griffinstone. That'd be cool. And here we have Silverstream. Silverstream is my personal favorite. I don't know why. Nothing to do with race at all. I wouldn't go against anyone's race. I wouldn't like one above the other at all. But she's just the best, and I just wanted to know if she's ever learned plumbing properly. I want to know how many stairs she ended up owning in her lifetime.
Bug.
All of these creatures together make a really good team with a lot of fantasy race types among them, and I'm a huge fan of like fantasy genre, so I like it. Oh, and literally every bad episode of theirs that people normally don't like, it's not because of them. They are always the best part in those episodes. It's Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash in every one of their bad episodes is the cause for it not being that great. Alright, I love their scenes in it. Rainbow Dash ruined all of it.
As much as jealous waifu-hoarding bronies hated Flash Sentry for his primary role in FIM being designated as Twilight's crush, the show writers probably had some root of an idea for his character development that never got to see the light thanks to Equestria girls portraying him as an annoying klutz. Instead, we just saw him get pushed farther and farther into the background until he entirely disappeared from the show. Flash Sentry was among the first of the Royal Guards with a non-standard mane and coat color. By Three's a Crowd, he had become Princess Cadence's personal escort. Clearly he was somewhat important. This is a prime example of a character with wasted potential. It would have been cool to see more of the dynamic between Twilight and him, or alternatively, what made Twilight lose interest. I also would have liked to have seen him involved in some of the major villain battles that occurred throughout the show. If he got more focus in the series, with the right conditions applied, he might have even ended up as a secondary hero like Spike. There's so many directions the series could have gone with him if he ever got the spotlight. But anyway, onto other underused characters.
So, one huge issue I have with My Little Pony is how they always seem to just drop reformed characters. Examples of this being Diamond Tiara and Gilda. Gilda was basically unbearable in her first episode, saying very hello fellow kids phrases. And it was a bit hard to watch, to be honest. However, honestly, in The Lost Treasure of Griffinstone, I actually enjoyed her quite a bit. In fact, I was actually starting to like Gilda towards the end. She could have been a pretty nice extra character. She could have appeared in some episodes of Rainbow Dash or Pinkie Pie. Some episode ideas could include maybe Gilda's trying to improve herself so she can get along better with others and, spread that to other Griffins. Maybe we could have even had episodes of Gilda and Gabby working together. Honestly, they could have had a pretty cute chemistry. It really sucks because Gilda was actually becoming a nice character. There was a lot of opportunities for, world building and actually making Griffinstone a better place. I just think that My Little Pony has an issue with a lot of the other species in general. Honestly, I could probably make a video on this on my channel eventually.
What horses do I think are underused? These two. Seriously, it was so unfair that we were just given a really cool dynamic, and we got them for one episode and never saw them again. We had never really seen a dynamic like that before, where Skystinger, he didn't know it, but he was overly dependent on Vaportrail. And Vaportrail only wanted to help him, and it was actually hurting him instead. And I know it was resolved at the end of the episode, but having a life-changing truth bomb, it couldn't have been easy to deal with. Sure, they had some bumps along the road afterwards. I would have liked to see where they went and how they were doing. Had they run into any other problems after that? Did they go on to be Wonderbolts? If not, where did they go? It's such a shame that we never got any answers after that. Vaportrail was kind of given a Fluttershy-like personality, and it was nice to kind of see her come out of her shell a little bit more. But we know from watching Fluttershy all these years that her progression was not a simple one and done. It would have been nice to see Vaportrail's progression, and it would have been nice to see Starsinger's too. he found out something huge. And I know we haven't seen them again, but I really doubt that it just never came up in conversation after that. It would have took quite a while to deal with, I think. Now, Kith.
One must not know the trouble that brews when Zecora the Brave becomes underused. Hey everybody, Lero here, and I just wanted to quickly go over the character that I personally believe is one of the more underused ones, Zecora. While in theory Zecora may appear more than some characters others have mentioned, Zecora in my eyes still doesn't get the respect she deserves, only appearing as the focus of the shot in 17 episodes. Now yes, that may sound like a lot, but the real thing I'm trying to get at here is, we never get Zecora focused episodes. Now you could argue that her first appearance was a Zecora-based episode, but if we were going to sit here and say that the zebra racism episode is our valid excuse, then we've got a problem. And while we're on the topic of zebras, where the hey are they? I mean seriously, we have yaks, we have griffins, we have dragons, Kirans one episode, hippogriffs, all of these other miscellaneous creatures, yet we never, and I mean never, see another zebra. What's that even about? And no, Doc, don't you dare mention the comics. Only 2 ponies read the comics, and you are one of them. Hasbro, you have gotten on my nerves this time, and I will be writing a strongly worded letter to your headquarters as soon as this video airs. I swear to As I was saying, the way we can fix Zecora is simple. Make her a more integrated character in the story. I mean, she could have had a whole alchemy episode if they just let her teach a class like that at the School of Friendship. Or gosh, maybe an episode delving into the inner lore about Zecora, show us flashbacks of her family, how she got to Ponyville, all of this wonderful, juicy lore goodness. But alas, we are left in the dust. just move on. This is too much to bear.
Hey guys, EffMinus from the channel FIM here. Basically, Doc Anubis hits me up telling me that he's doing this big collab where we're all talking about forgotten and underdeveloped characters from the show. Then I thought, forgotten, huh? I know this one character whose entire shtick is basically about being forgotten, and despite the fact that this character's only been in like one Equestria Girl special, I'm sure she's a fan favorite among a lot of us. Of course I'm talking about Juniper Montage. Just kidding. Vignette Valencia, I think, is a super underrated villain. She has the basic foundation laid out for her from her special, but I think that the entire franchise would have benefited a lot from featuring her more. In case you have no idea who this character actually is, Vignette is basically the social media influencer who lets her pride and ego get the best of her, and everyone suffers because of that. The most important thing to take away from her character is at the end of the special where she says this.
Friends? I have 3 million followers, but no real friends. How pathetic is that?
But that's kind of where the whole thing ends. I think that her character could have been used by the writers as a way to show the audience that chasing numbers and subscribers and followers on social media isn't the most important thing in the world. I mean, I can tell you firsthand that I have thousands of subscribers and get thousands of views on my videos, yet I, just like Vignette, don't have a single friend. I don't have anyone to hang out with, so I sit indoors on my computer all day, but I just get people online telling me to touch grass. So I go outside to get some fresh air, and all I see on the streets are people in groups of friends. I swear I hear them snicker and guffaw at me behind my back. So I go home, crying into my Sunset Shimmer body pillow, hoping to wake up in the middle of Equestria one day to get a second chance at life. Just one more chance. One more chance to make everything right. To not end up in this mess that I've already dug myself into. But, of course, I know that's not how reality works. We all get one chance, and only one, and I messed mine up. It's as simple as that. I messed my life up, and there's no turning back from it. Needless to say, I think Post Crush were awesome villains that should have been utilized more often.
Don't worry, he's fine. For the most part. We have friends, he just likes his drama.
So today I'm going to talk about Spoiled Rich. When I think of characters in Friendship is Magic that had their potential wasted, the first one that comes to mind is Autumn Blaze. I very much enjoyed her episode, Sounds of Silence, as well as the portrayal of the Kirans in general, and I could go on and on about the Kirans as a collective species, but I don't want to be here all day, I only have like 2 minutes. The big problem with the Kirins in general, especially Autumn Blaze, as she was the Kirin character that got the most attention, is that they were given a huge spotlight for this episode with their interesting dynamic of having anger problems and turning into flaming monsters known as Nyrics whenever they got overly angry, which led to them losing their collective voices by decision, by choice. And after they found their resolution of being able to control their anger, they were just never brought up ever again, until the very last episode where they kind of made a cameo. So what would I do in order to allow Autumn Blaze to live up to her potential a little bit more? I'd give her another episode. Now, ideally, I'd love to give the Kirins themselves another episode that showed their collective society, but when I think of an episode that the Kirins could take part of, the only thing that comes to mind is revisiting their society and finding out that they've fallen back into their anger. Maybe somebody out there other than me could come up with a more creative idea, but that's all I've got. Rather, I would love to do an episode that focuses on Autumn Blaze specifically, because I would love to see her come back to Ponyville with Applejack, be a fish out of water character. Because you have to remember, one of the funnest things about Autumn Blaze's dynamic was that she was basically an extrovert stuck in a town full of people that couldn't speak with her. So she had tons of social energy to burn, and she came off as this extremely energetic and ditzy character because of that. And I would love to see her interact in a huge society full of ponies that could actually communicate with her, especially ones that she wasn't familiar with. So what would I do to help Autumn Blaze not be a one-off character? I'd give her an episode where they take her to Ponyville and just let the hijinks ensue. Because tell me you wouldn't want to see an episode where Autumn Blaze and Pinkie Pie met each other.
Oh hey, it's me, world famous MLP connoisseur, TobbyMLP. I am here today because Doc Anubis recently PayPal'd me a few $100 to appear in this neat little collab video he's making about underused MLP characters. So, do you know what that means? That is correct, it is time to talk about none other than everybody's favorite changeling, Soax. I would say that Soax is a pretty cool guy. He's just a little green goofball. However, after he, with the help of Starlight Glimmer, successfully staged a coup in the Changeling Hive against Queen Chrysalis during the Season 6 finale, his subsequent appearances felt kinda few and far between to me. In Season 7, he did actually make a few notable appearances in some episodes, like in Triple Threat and To Change a Changeling. And sure, while these were pretty great, afterwards, however, Soax was more or less pushed to the sidelines for the rest of the series. Like literally all he ever did in seasons 8 and 9 was show up at the School of Friendship a few times to represent and talk to Osiris or whatever, because her parents barely even exist, I guess. To be fair though, Soax did have a few other miscellaneous cameos, but those were only ever in the background, so he was just sorta chilling there, you know? Soax being fairly underutilized just kinda sucks in my opinion, because it honestly would have been quite interesting to see more insight on how he was handling, you know, becoming the ruling king, effectively, of an entire species. It certainly doesn't help that he also hardly even appeared in the MLP comics at all, so I can't even talk much about his appearances outside of the show itself, and also how the comics are canon, but hey, that's beside the point. Anyways, yeah, Soax is pretty awesome, and he probably should have been used more. I don't have anything else to say, so thanks again Anubis for the large sum of money. I do appreciate it. I'm going to go now, so bye-bye.
Hello. I've always loved the background 6 in MLP. It was so cool to me that the show staff saw what the fandom was doing and validated it by putting it in the show. In fact, seeing the staff intentionally cross Derpy's eyes is what pushed me to join the fandom in the first place. I wanted to be a part of that excitement at seeing the fandom's ideas canonized. For the most part, our background 6 had a pretty good showing. The staff loved DJ Pone3, she got a ton of supporting roles. Derpy had her ups and downs of course, but she managed to get some solid appearances in the end. Octavia and Dr. Hooves, they didn't get much, but they at least had important roles in A Horse Shoein'. But then there's Lyra and Bonbon. Sure, like all of the background 6, they had a notable appearance in Slice of Life, and they had some good personality established too. Bonbon is supportive and serious, while Lyra is a little more high-strung and eccentric. Bonbon is a former monster hunting secret agent, and Lyra is a friend of Twilight Sparkle and a gifted magic user. All of the ingredients were there to make two really fun, really fleshed out characters, but it seems like every time they appeared, it was just to acknowledge the ship tease and nothing else. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not disappointed by the amount of shipping we got from these two. It's really cute to see their relationship build up over time, and I was ecstatic to see them finally get married in Season 9. But why didn't we get any more stories about Bonbon's life as a monster hunter? Why didn't we ever see Twilight hang out with Lyra? Why is it that every time we heard them speak after Slice of Life, their personalities felt so generic or interchangeable? The show didn't even distinguish them enough to decide which one should propose. It's a shame to me that these two never got a second major appearance. That would have made a world of difference. But as it stands, they make for a cute little background arc and a GM Bureau book with a funny cover. Look at them, standing on their hind legs like that. They're so silly.
When I think of underused characters, I think of Star Swirl and the Pillars. Now, the Pillars were a really neat concept to add into Season 7, but the Pillars weren't really mentioned at all in the previous seasons, which kind of makes them feel shoehorned in. Like, you'd kind of expect someone as important as the Pillars, all they help with, to at least be mentioned a little bit. Star Swirl the Bearded, on the other hand, he was introduced in Season 2. He was Celestia and Luna's teacher, who taught them basically everything they knew about magic. Before Celestia and Luna were there to bring day and night, Star Swirl had to do it with 5 great unicorns. The episode Shadowplay was pretty good for what it is, but that's not without saying it didn't have flaws. Don't get me wrong, adding Star Swirl in there was a really good idea. With all the ponies describing the great feats that Star Swirl was able to accomplish, it really got me curious what it was like with Star Swirl teaching Celestia and Luna, and maybe what it would be like if he ever met Twilight. How they met Star Swirl was a little forced. They pretty much just solved the mystery in like 2 days. And because plot had to happen, Twilight conveniently placed the book on Star Swirl's stone and it magically showed a hologram of him and all the other pillars. And after a little bit of research, Twilight and her friends find out how to bring back Star Swirl and the Pillars. So they free Star Swirl and the Pillars, and here's the part where we finally get to meet what Star Swirl is really like. And he's a jerk, for some reason. So I think what the writers were trying to do is convey the message of how sometimes your heroes aren't perfect and even they have their flaws and you shouldn't look up to someone too much. But Daring Don't did that better. Now, despite my critiques of how Shadowplay was, the writers did do a really good job building these characters up to be as important as they should be. Each of the pillars represented a certain virtue and the items they held were a sign of it, just like how the main 6 represented a certain element of harmony. In the fight while battling Stygian, you can see how much power and certainty they have, and how they kept equestrian protection for so many moons. Because of that, the power they have when working together could be almost as powerful as the main 6. I think it's a cool idea on paper, but when brought into the show, you can see how it doesn't really work out. We already have the main 6 defending Equestria, as well as the princesses who do some things. But the point is, in the finale of Season 9, we really got to see how the pillars were tossed aside because the writers decided to pull a Celestia and Luna all over again and basically show them to be really weak and helpless. Here's how I think they should fix Star Swirl as a character. Maybe instead of introducing him in present-day Equestria, perhaps show more flashbacks of what it was like in the past Equestria. Perhaps these flashbacks can tie into a plot, like one of those big finales Celestia and Luna remembers something that Star Swirl taught them a long time ago. So we get a little bit more about what Star Swirl the Bearded was like in the past, and we get a little bit more world building. On a side note, what's with the color schemes of Star Swirl?
The character with the most untapped potential in MLP is none other than Archer. What? You don't know who Archer is? Archer is only the most underused character in all of MLP, but you might know her better as the Blue Scootaloo. Yes, this character has a name. And the first reason as to why I believe she has so much untapped potential is because, well, just look at her color scheme. Clearly, any pony with a blue color scheme is automatically one of the best ponies ever. Now, you might be saying, that's just Scootaloo disguising herself as a pony with a cutie mark so she doesn't get teased. I have heard this theory before, but let me tell you folks, it is not true. Because Archer is an Earth pony. She is clearly a separate character here. We could have had an entire episode about her, honing her archery skills enough so that she could perform at the Equestria Games. That could have been her life's goal. And since her character is a blank slate, her personality could be anything. Literal endless possibilities. But the thing is, as soon as Scootaloo shows up in school, Archer suddenly disappears. But that's not all. There is another character, Sun Glimmer, probably better known as the Green Sweetie Belle. Oh, what missed potential this character had. With a name like Sun Glimmer, and the fact that she is a unicorn, surely this can only mean that she would be the secret younger sister of Starlight Glimmer. Imagine a story about how she ran away from home to go live in Ponyville, and how much this parallels with Starlight's tale of leaving to go found her town. Maybe we could have a story about how they reunite with each other after so many years of being apart. But, just like Archer, Sun Glimmer too suddenly disappeared without a trace. The very moment her recolored OC Sweetie Belle showed up. The fact that both these characters disappeared at the exact same time, right when Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo showed up, can only mean one thing. Foul play was involved. After Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo met Apple Bloom, they started going to school together. Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle saw that there were these two ponies that, aside from their color, looked exactly like them. But there was one key difference. They had cutie marks. Out of pure envy and a blind belief that they were the superior variations of these fillies, Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle agreed that something needed to be done to correct the mistake that was these characters' existence in this world. So while Sweetie Belle distracted them, Scootaloo grabbed Archer's bow and fired an arrow, bringing down Archer in a single shot with her own weapon. Sun Glimmer was brought down immediately after, and from this day on, their desks and seats were claimed by Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle, the superior beings. All of this missed potential, these poor, underused characters, poured down the drain, all because Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle were envious.
Star, this is not what happened.
You can't prove that it didn't!
That's enough from Star's side. And the others too. But you can all agree that Star went the most crazy. But that's how we know him. To finish it, I chose a character that I can't pronounce. Countess Coloratura, aka Rawa. And actually, most of the celebrities, like Songbird Serenade and Sapphire Shaw's.
Aren't you forgetting someone? Equestria's greatest and most powerful celebrity!
My dear, I would never forget about you. But compared to those three, you were way more prominent.
That does not matter. Trixie deserves all the spotlight and praise of the world. If I appeared in more episodes, people could have seen more development on my other friendships next to Starlight. She is my best friend. But I also want to hang out more with Sunburst and the others. She isn't my only friend, you know.
That's true. We would have loved to see you interact with more ponies. To show how your information made you at least a little bit more humble and made it possible for you to connect with more ponies than just one.
Sunburst could have helped me with my great and powerful performance. Two magicians performing together! Of course, he wouldn't be able to steal my show.
Naturally. You are the greatest and most powerfulest mare in all of Equestria. Did I make clear that I love Trixie yet? If not, let me say, Trixie is amazing. Best mare and overall second best character.
Trixie is indeed best mare and second best character. Wait, second best? Who could possibly be better than Trixie herself? Just look at her magical abilities. No one can reach Trixie's greatness in any way, so I demand you explain who best character is supposed to be, if not I.
Well, that's all, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this giant collab that was in the works for way longer and became way bigger than I expected. But it was hella fun to manage, and I hope to do something like this again. I had a great time working with all these amazing creators, and you should go sub to all of them if you haven't already. I am very happy to call so many of these great creators of this fandom my friends. It's amazing to be part of this great community. Every single person who contributed will be linked in the description. But let me know which characters are underrated or underused in your opinion. Join my Discord if you want to discuss some more, thanks to my patrons, especially to Maverick, and until next time, fellow bronies, fellas, and bye.